cannot see him again, Igwe Adibe thundered at Adaeze. He is the son of our enemy. Adaeze's pleas fell on deaf ears. Her love for Emeka was pure, but the enmity between their communities overshadowed everything. Once upon a time, two neighboring communities, Umucheze and Amakohia, thrived in peaceful coexistence for generations. Umucheze, renowned for its vast farmlands and lush greenery, prided itself on its agricultural heritage. Amakohia, on the other hand, was famous for its craft and trading prowess, with markets bustling with activities. Between these two communities lay a stretch of land once considered of little significance that neither community paid much attention to. The land had historically belonged to Umucheze, as evidenced by old maps and the stories passed down from elders. It served as grazing land for their cattle and a boundary marker. This changed drastically one fateful morning when a group of young men from Umucheze, while digging a well, struck crude oil. The black gold gushed from the earth, its rich scents filling the air, signaling a fortune that could alter the destiny of an entire people. The discovery spread like wildfire through Umucheze, sparking celebrations and dreams of wealth and progress. However, the news did not sit well with Amakohia. Their elders, upon hearing of the discovery, claimed the land had always been a shared territory, even arguing that old treaties and oral traditions supported their claims. Tensions heated, ignited by the lure of wealth that crude oil promised. Meetings between the elders of both communities were convened, but each ended in a deadlock. Voices were raised, accusations were hurled, and the atmosphere grew increasingly hostile. The land, once a symbol of peace, had now become the epic center of a looming conflict. Eze Okeke, the wise and revered king of Umucheze, stood firm on their claim. His son, Prince Emeka, was a young man of valor and intellect, respected by all. Emeka had dreams of a unified future where both communities could benefit from the oil, but his father's counsel and the pressure from the people urged caution and steadfastness. In Amakohia, Igwe Adibe was a fierce and ambitious ruler. His daughter, Princess Adaeze, was as beautiful as she was intelligent. Known for her wisdom and grace, Adaeze had often mediated minor disputes within her community. However, the issue of the land was far more complex and volatile. Despite the rising tension, fate had other plans. During a market day in a neighboring town, Emeka and Adaeze met by chance. Their eyes locked across the bustling crowd, and in that moment, a profound connection was formed. They spoke, finding solace and understanding in each other's company, a rare harmony amidst the chaos brewing back home. As weeks turned into months, Emeka and Adaeze's bond deepened. They met in secret, away from prying eyes, sharing dreams of a future untainted by greed and hatred. Their love blossomed like a forbidden flower, beautiful yet perilous. However, word soon spread. The secret meetings could not remain hidden for long in the close-knit communities. When news reached their parents, the reaction was swift and unforgiving. Eze Okeke and Igwe Adibe, normally rational leaders, were angry. The idea of their children uniting with the enemy was unthinkable. You cannot see him again, Igwe Adibe thundered at Adaeze. He is the son of our enemy. Adaeze's pleas fell on deaf ears. Her love for Emeka was pure, but the enmity between their communities overshadowed everything. Similarly, Eze Okeke forbade Emeka from meeting Adaeze. You are a prince, Emeka. Your duty is to our people. Do not let love cloud your judgment, he said angrily. The conflict over the land escalated and fights broke out between the young men of both communities. What began as verbal confrontation conversations quickly turned into physical altercations. The once peaceful boundary was now a battleground. Deception and greed fueled the flames. Influential men from both sides, eyeing the potential wealth from the oil, stirred hatred. Rumors were spread, creating an atmosphere thick with mistrust and anger. In one fateful encounter, a fight over the disputed land resulted in bloodshed. The first casualties of the brewing war were buried with great mourning, and the drums of war began to beat louder. The air was heavy with the sounds of war songs, and the communities braced for the inevitable conflict. In the midst of this chaos, a cunning and an ambitious man named Okechukwu from Amakohia saw an opportunity. He had always coveted power and saw the conflict as his path to dominance. Okechukwu secretly met with a rival faction within Umuchieze, promising them wealth and influence if they supported his claims to the land and helped remove Eze Okeke. Meanwhile, within Umuchieze, there were those who opposed the king's stance, believing a peaceful resolution and shared benefits were the answer. Emeka found himself torn between loyalty to his father and the love he held for Adaeze, as well as his desire for peace. In a daring move, Emeka and Adaeze decided to act. They secretly gathered supporters from both communities who believed in a peaceful resolution. They formed an alliance, hoping to present a united front that could persuade their fathers and the elders to see reason. Despite their efforts, the drumbeat of war drowned out the calls for peace. A large confrontation was inevitable. On the eve of the battle, Emeka and Adaeze met in their secret spots, their hearts heavy with sorrow and love. If this war continues, there will be nothing left for us to love, Adaeze whispered, tears in her eyes. Emeka held her close, the weight of his responsibility pressing down on him. I will do everything I can to stop this, he vowed. The following day, the battlefield was set. Warriors from both communities faced each other, the air thick with tension as the first war cries rang out. Emeka and Adaeze, leading their respectful communities, started it forward. Stop! Emeka's voice boomed over the clamor. There has been enough bloodshed. We cannot continue to let greed and hatred destroy us. Adaeze echoed his sentiments. Our love should be a testament to what we can achieve together, not a reason for division. Their words were powerful, but the hatred and deception sown over the months were not easily undone. As the first arrow flew, the battle began in earnest, engulfing both communities in a brutal conflict. Even as the battle raged, Emeka and Adaeze fought not just with weapons, but with words, appealing to their people to lay down their arms. Slowly, their bravery and determination began to sway some hearts. Warriors hesitated, questioning the purpose of the fight. But in the heat of the battle, a tragedy occurred. Okechukwu, seeing his plans unraveling, decided to take matters into his own hands. He aimed a deadly blow of arrow at Emeka, but Adaeze, seeing the danger, shielded him with her body. She fell, wounded, and the battlefield fell silent as Princess Adaeze's body hit the ground, her blood staining the soil. For a brief, fragile moment, both sides paused, stunned by her selfless act, but the respite was short-lived. Okechukwu, seizing the opportunity to incite further chaos, shouted, "Look at what they have done to our princess. Do not let their treachery go unpunished." The rage of Amakohia's warriors reignited, and the battle resumed with renowned ferocity. Emeka, overwhelmed with grief and fury, fought desperately to protect Adaeze's fallen body. Despite his pleas for peace, the cries for revenge drowned out his voice. In the ensuing chaos, both sides suffered heavy casualties. The once tranquil land between Umuchieze and Amakohia was now a war zone, marred by the violence of conflict. The discovery of oil had turned into a curse, bringing nothing but destruction. Emeka, seeing the futility of his efforts on the battlefield, ordered a retreat, carrying Adaeze's unconscious body back to Umuchieze. In the safety of his homeland, he sought out the best healers to save her life. Her condition was critical, and Emeka's heart ached with fear and and uncertainty. Meanwhile, Okechukwu's influence in Amakohia grew. He used Adeze's injury to rally the people, painting Emeka and Umuchieze as the villains. Igwe Adibe, blinded by grief and anger over his daughter's condition, fell under Okechukwu's sway, preparing for an all-out war to avenge Adeze. In Umuchieze, the atmosphere was tense. Eze Okeke struggled to maintain control as factions within his own community began to question his leadership. The prolonged conflict was draining their resources, and the promise of wealth from the oil seemed a distant memory. Seeing an opportunity, a group of disgruntled warriors conspired with Okechukwu. They planned to betray Umuchieze, hoping to gain favor and riches in the new order Okechukwu promised. They fed false information to Eze Okeke, leading him into a trap. One night, as Umuchieze's warrior prepared for a counter-attack, they were ambushed by a combined force of Amakohia's troop and the treacherous faction. The betrayal resulted in a devastating defeat for Umuchieze, further weakening their position. As Adeze slowly recovered, she and Emeka realized that their love alone was not enough to end the war. They needed to take a more proactive role in the conflict. Despite her weakened state, Adeze insisted on returning to Amakohia to confront Okechukwu and expose his treachery. Emeka, torn between his duty to his people and his love for Adeze, finally made a decision. He would accompany her back to Amakohia, risking everything to bring the truth to life. Together, they devised a plan to infiltrate Amakohia and gather evidence of Okechukwu's deceit. Under the cover of darkness, Emeka and Adeze made their way to Amakohia. They moved cautiously, avoiding patrols and using secret paths known only to Adeze. Their journey was perilous, but their resolve was unwavering. In Amakohia, their luck ran out. As they approached the village, they were spotted by a guard who immediately raised the alarm. Emeka was captured and seized by the king's guard. Adeze, despite her protest and pleas, was taken back to the palace under heavy guard. Igwe Adibe, upon seeing Emeka in chains, was filled with a mix of anger and confusion. The sight of his daughter, visibly distraught, only intensified his fury. He saw Emeka's presence as a direct affront, a challenge that could not go unpunished. "You dare to step into my village, son of my enemy?" Igwe Adibe roared. "You have brought this upon yourself," he said. Igwe Adibe summoned his council and, with Emeka bound before them, issued a chilling ultimatum to Umuchieze. "If you do not relinquish your claim to the disputed land, your prince will die. You have 3 days to decide." The message was sent to Umuchieze, where it spread fear and outrage. Eze Okeke, upon hearing the news, was torn between his duty to protect his people and his love for his son. The ultimatum inflamed passion on both sides, and the drums of war beat even louder. Skirmishes broke out anew, more intense and brutal than before. The battlefield once again turned into a scene of bloodshed as warriors from both communities clashed, driven by anger and desperation. Meanwhile, in Amakohia, Adeze was determined to save Emeka. She confronted her father with an ultimatum of her own. "If you do not release Emeka, I will take my own life," she declared, her voice resolute. "I cannot live in a world where love is punished and hatred rules." Igwe Adibe was stunned by her words. He saw the determination in her eyes and realized the depth of her love for Emeka. Yet, his pride and the expectations of his people held him back from conceding. Adeze, true to her words, embarked on a hunger strike. She refused food and drink, her health deteriorating rapidly. Her mother, Queen Nneka, pleaded with her to eat, but Adeze remained steadfast. "I will not eat until Emeka is free," she insisted. The situation grew more dire with each passing day. Adeze's hunger strike began to take its toll, and whispers of her defiance spread through Amakohia. Some saw her as a symbol of strength and love, while others viewed her actions as a dangerous rebellion. In Umuchieze, the ultimatum had ignited a fierce debate. Some argued for conceding the land to save Emeka, while others believed it was was a ploy to weaken their resolve. Eze Okeke, torn between the weight of his decision, struggled to find a solution. Okechukwu, seeing the chaos as another opportunity, stirred more discord. He spread rumors, inciting further violence and mistrust. His goal was clear: to keep the communities divided and to rise to power amidst the chaos. On the third day, as tensions reached a boiling point, Adeze's condition worsened. She was weak, barely able to stand, but her spirit remained unbroken. Emeka, held in the dungeons, was tormented by thoughts of her suffering. Finally, Queen Nneka could no longer bear it. She approached Igwe Adibe, her eyes filled with tears. "Our daughter is dying," she pleaded. "If we do not act, we will lose her. Is this land worth more the life of our child?" Igwe Adibe, his heart heavy with regret and fear, knew she was right. He could not bear the thought of losing Adeze. He summoned his council once more and declared, "We will renegotiate, but we will not give in to threats. Let us seek a way to end this without more bloodshed," he said. Igwe Adibe's decision to negotiate was met with mixed reaction. Some saw it as a sign of weakness, while others, wary of the endless conflict, saw a glimmer of hope. He sent a message to Eze Okeke proposing a temporary ceasefire and a meeting to discuss terms. Emeka, still imprisoned, was unaware of these developments. His thoughts were consumed by Adeze and the suffering she must be enduring. He resolved to escape, to find a way to end this madness and save the woman he loved. With the help of a sympathetic guard, Emeka managed to break free from his cell. He made his way through the palace, determined to reach Adeze. Emeka finally reached Adeze's chamber. She lay weak and pale, but her eyes lit up when she saw him. "Emeka," she whispered, reaching out to him. He took her hand, his heart aching at the sight of her frailty. "We will get through this, Adeze, I promised." At the moment, Igwe Adibe and Queen Nneka entered the room. The sight of their daughter, so weak and yet determined, moved them deeply. "Enough," Igwe Adibe said, his voice breaking. "You have shown great courage and love for our daughter. We will release you and we will negotiate for peace. But know this, the path ahead will be difficult," he said to Emeka. Emeka, holding Adeze close, nodded. "I understand, but for her sake and for the future of our people, we will try," he responded. The news of Emeka's release and the proposed negotiation spread quickly. Both communities, exhausted by the endless fighting, began to see a glimmer of hope. The negotiations were set to take place on neutral ground, with both kings and their councils present. As the leaders of Umucheze and Amakohia gathered, the atmosphere was tense. Years of conflict and mistrust could not be easily forgotten, but the sight of Emeka and Adeze standing together gave many a reason to hope. The negotiations were long and hard. Each side presented their grievances and demands, and tempers flared. But the presence of Emeka and Adeze, their love, a testament to what could be achieved, served as a constant reminder of the higher stakes. Finally, after days of deliberation, a tentative agreement was reached. The disputed land will be jointly managed, its resources shared equally. A council composed of members from both communities would oversee its administrations, ensuring transparency and fairness. As the leaders prepared to announce the agreement to their people, a sense of cautious optimism began to spread. However, not everyone was pleased with the outcome. Okechukwu, whose plans hinged on continued conflict and chaos, saw his ambition slipping away. He knew that as long as peace prevailed, his chances of seizing powers were slim. He needed to reignite the flames of war. As the community celebrated the uncertain peace, he began plotting in the shadow, seeking ways to sow discord and mistrust. Okechukwu orchestrated series of sabotage acts. He had loyalists infiltrate the joint council, spreading false information and creating misunderstandings. He arranged for crucial supplies meant for the shared land to be stolen or destroyed, blaming each community for the treachery. Rumors of betrayal and deceit spread like wildfire. Old wounds were reopened and the fear of renewed conflict loomed large. Okechukwu's plan was working perfectly, and the shadow of war once again threatened to engulf engulfed the land. Eze Okeke and Igwe Adibe, both under immense pressure from their people, began to reconsider the terms of the agreement. The prospect of sharing the land and its resources seemed increasingly unattainable in the face of continued sabotage and mistrust. Emeka and Adaeze, aware of Okechukwu's schemes but lacking concrete proof, decided to make a desperate plea to their people. They called for a public assembly, hoping to address the growing unrest and appeal to the shared communities. Standing before the gathered crowd, Emeka spoke first. Our ancestors lived in peace, and we can too. The land we fight over is standing with the blood of our brothers and sisters. We cannot let hatred and greed dictate our future. Adaeze, her voice filled with emotion, added, "We have suffered enough. Emeka and I stand here as proof that love can overcome hatred. But we cannot do this alone. We need each one of you to believe in a better future, to reject the lies and the deceit," she said. Their words resonated with many, but the seeds of doubt sown by Okechukwu's agents made their task difficult. While some were moved to support peace, others remained skeptical, their hearts hardened by loss and anger. Okechukwu, seeing the impact of Emeka and Adaeze's plea, realized he needed to act quickly to maintain control. He decided to escalate his efforts, planning a major incident that would irreparably damage the fragile peace. He orchestrated a brutal attack on a group of farmers working in the disputed land, making it appear as though warriors from Umuchieze were responsible. The attack resulted in several deaths and widespread destruction, reigniting the hatred and anger between the communities. The news of the attack spread rapidly. Amakohia demanded retribution, and Umuchieze, denying responsibility, prepared for war. The peace talks were abandoned, and both sides mobilized for what seemed like an inevitable clash. Despite Emeka and Adaeze's desperate attempt to prevent further bloodshed, the war resumed with even greater ferocity. The battlefield once again became a place of horror and sorrow as warriors fought and died for a cause twisted by deceit and manipulation. In the chaos, Emeka and Adaeze resolved to expose Okechukwu's treachery once and for all. They gathered their most trusted allies and set out to uncover concrete evidence that could bring his schemes to light. They knew that only by revealing the truth could they hope to stop the war. They infiltrated Okechukwu's stronghold, risking their lives to gather evidence of his deceit. They found documents detailing his plans, records of his meetings with traitors, and proof of his orchestrated sabotage. With the evidence in hand, they returned to the battlefield where the leaders of both communities were present. Emeka, holding the documents aloft, called out, "This war is built on lies. We have proof of Okechukwu's treachery. He is the true enemy, not each other." The revelation stunned the warriors. Okechukwu, realizing his plans were finally exposed, attempted to flee but was captured by Emeka's allies. He was brought before Eze Okeke and Igwe Adibe, who, upon seeing the undeniable evidence of his betrayal, ordered his immediate imprisonment. With Okechukwu's treachery revealed, the leaders of Umuchieze and Amakohia called for an immediate ceasefire. The truth of his manipulation began to heal the rift between the communities, though the wounds of war would take much longer to mend. With the truth revealed and war ended, Emeka and Adaeze dedicated themselves to the cause of peace, organizing community meetings, rebuilding homes, and providing aid to those affected by the war. Their tireless efforts began to foster a sense of unity and cooperation. The Joint Council, now composed of trusted leaders from both communities, worked diligently to create a fair system for managing the disputed land and its resources. One evening, as the sun set over the land that had once been a battlefield, Emeka took Adaeze to a secluded spot by the riverside. The water shimmered in the fading light, casting a golden glow over the landscape. Emeka turned to Adaeze, his eyes filled with love and gratitude. "Adaeze," he began, taking her hands in his, "we have faced so much together, and our love has been tested in ways we could never have imagined. Yet, here we stand, stronger than ever. I cannot imagine a future without you by my side." Adaeze's eyes swelled with tears of joy as she looked at Emeka. "I feel the same way, Emeka. Emeka, our love has been a beacon of hope for our people, and I believe it can be the final seal to the lasting peace and unity between our communities. Emeka smiled and knelt before her, pulling out a beautifully crafted ring. Adaeze, will you marry me and help me build a future where our people can live in harmony? He proposed. With tears streaming down her face, Adaeze nodded and whispered, "Yes, Emeka, 1,000 times yes, I will marry you," she responded. The news of Emeka and Adaeze's engagement spread quickly, filling the hearts of the people with joy and hope. The wedding was planned as a grand celebration of unity and reconciliation, a symbol of the new beginning for both communities. On the day of the wedding, the village square was transformed into a scene of beauty and festivity. Decorations adorned the streets, and people from both Umuchieze and Amakohia gathered to witness the union that would seal their lasting peace. Emeka stood at the altar, dressed in traditional regalia, his heart pounding with anticipation as the drums began to beat, signaling the arrival of the bride. He looked up to see Adaeze approaching, radiant in her wedding attire. Her beauty took his breath away, and he felt a surge of love and pride. Adaeze reached the altar, her eyes locked with Emeka's as they stood before their families, friends, and the leaders of both communities. They exchanged vows of love and commitment, pledging to stand by each other and to work for the peace and prosperity of their people. Igwe Adibe and Eze Okeke, standing side by side, watched with pride and hope as their children united. The wedding was not just a union of two hearts, but a symbol of the new era of cooperation and harmony between Umuchieze and Amakohia. The ceremony was filled with joyous music, dances, and feasting. The people celebrated not just the marriage of Emeka and Adaeze, but the promise of a brighter future. As the celebration continued into the night, Emeka and Adaeze stood together, looking out over the crowd. They felt a deep sense of fulfillment and hope. Their love had triumphed over hatred and division, and they were ready to lead their people into a new era of peace and prosperity. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and leave a comment letting us know what you think about the story. Kindly subscribe if you are yet to do so. Up until next time, bye for now. Mwah.